Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Hit and Run. A great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. It is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a very slow-ish start. I mean, to be fair, we kind of get like an opening 3 weeks into the future of him in prison. I'd assume that seemed like it was an American prison, but I could be mistaken. But we get introduced to Segev and his life with his wife Danielle, as well as his daughter Ella. And just, you know, she works at this dance company, which immediately I was like, okay, because I knew based on the trailer, it was like, okay, I knew what was going to happen to her, so I'm already from the beginning trying to figure out, okay, so is it something related to the dance company, or is it something where it's, because at first, like, as the episode progressed, I started thinking, well, is the dance company actually a front? Because later on, the guy that was keeping an eye on her, that even Segev like started noticing, like when he was dropping Ella off, like when Danielle's going to go to the airport because she's got an audition for another dance company in New York. Because that's a whole conversation. Like Danielle's kind of cagey about that, where he's like, okay, like, or do you let them know that you're doing that? The fact is that she didn't really let any of them know that's what she was really planning, except for like her friend Sid. It seems like no one else really knew what she was up to. I mean, at the very least, that's what it kind of implies. So it seems like whatever she was doing, like she was trying to keep it hush-hush from the rest of the company. I guess it's also like, right, if I don't get this audition and I come back, the last thing I want is them to be pissed at me knowing like I was trying to abandon them. That, or it's like, right, like in the time, like if I do get the audition, I want to still be able to work here before like I end up being able to officially call it quits. Because also it's like the whole conversation of, well, if Danielle gets that position back in New York, she's going to be staying there. So the question is, well, what's Segev going to do? Which even Ella's like, if she gets the audition, like the position in New York, like, would you leave? And he's like, no, I'd never leave you. So, because at the very least, because Danielle is her stepmom and not her biological mom. The way Moshe was talking about later on, it's like, oh, that wasn't a good relationship. There was kind of no love or no joy. So, but at least, like, Ella's mom is there in Israel, like, if he did decide to do that, but it's a whole conversation that they haven't really had yet, because she's like, oh, I'm not going to get the position anyway, but, like I said, she's just very cagey around all that. Even getting her friend, she's like, oh, like, take this letter and give it to him. I was like, is that something she wants her to, I was like, at first I was like, it wouldn't be something she wants Segev to have, because if it was that, not unless her friend didn't do her part, but it's like, if that was the case, she would have given it immediately to him after Danielle died. So I'm assuming it has to have something to do with that guy in particular, or maybe, once again, maybe whatever. Because I don't know if that dude, Asaf, like, if he has anything necessarily to do with the company. His wife knows about it, the dance company, like, oh, like, because there's a connection there. So I guess that's how they found each other. Because conversations he was having later on made me think, like, oh, like, I started thinking, because I think there is, like, a spy element to this. So I was kind of under the impression at first, I was like, wait, is he, like, part of, like, some intelligence division, kind of like Mossad or something? If not Mossad, which is essentially, like, the Israeli, if I'm not mistaken, the Israeli equivalency to, like, the CIA and the MI6. So I would, like, especially those conversations, I was wondering, like, was there some correlation in that? Because I thought it was interesting, too. Like, I thought at first he was avoiding, but it's like, no, he, like, eventually picked up Danny's calls. It was Segev at the time, because Danny was already dead, but he didn't know either. So he found out when, like, he, like, heard the news story, but it's just, once again, it sends your brain into, like, conspiracy mode trying to figure things out, because, I don't know if Tali's his sister or not. I'm assuming that's his sister. I'm not sure, but he was able to get her to look into it. I mean, she was already going to be investigating it, because her unit, I think, had already, like, gotten the, like, call, and she was working it. But it turns out, like, the hit and run situation, because when you look at it, it definitely doesn't seem like it was an accident. Because the way they're saying, like, oh, like, the way the brakes, like, the streaks in the street are, it kind of seemed like, oh, like, they were just going too fast and it took them a long time to slow down. But it's like, that's what it seems like it's more intentional, but with the evidence presented to them, it seems like it was unintentional, but maybe it's just designed to look that way. But because Danielle was kind of worried, she was getting the texts, and now we kind of find out, like, those texts were associated with Asaf, like, he was, like, hitting her up, which we'll get to that in a second. But the moment Tali and her like unit like tracked down Remy, the dude that was like, it was his car that was in the hit and run, but it seemed like he's up to some shady business. He had like 400,000 on him, and he had 2 grenades, which I wasn't expecting that. You'd expect guns or something. Wouldn't expect grenades. That didn't seem like, oh, that's just okay. I guess that's just how it is. But the way he was responding to like, yeah, my car was stolen, yeah, and then it's like, yeah, this your car was involved with a hit and run. And his expression went from like almost like a, oh, like you guys are trying to bust my chops, you ain't going to get nothing out of me, to like a somber look. And was like, wait, what? So that's when I'm like, what? Something changed where he was immediately like, I'm gonna call my lawyer, and maybe, and the way Tali talks about it later on, it's like, oh, we got him. So it makes it seem like he might have confessed. It might have been that thing of like, oh, I'm protecting someone. Like, right, if I have to take the fall, I'm going to take the fall. Right, all this evidence pointing to me. Yeah, I'm the one who did it. Just because he knows exactly who had the car, like, or at least has some idea. I don't know. Because it's not like they mentioned Danielle's name, mentioned her by name. They just said it was involved with a hit and run. Maybe he heard about the hit and run already and was like, oh, that was you. My car was used, and immediately kind of put 2 and 2 together. I don't know. Maybe it's just the lesser of two things of like, man, I'd rather take the fall for this hit and run because I got something else that I don't want to take the fall for, that I'm connected to. Maybe some shady business stuff he's doing. Who knows? It was really sad, especially because like the way we get Danielle and Segev's story, because we find, because obviously Segev does, he does a tour of like, for a tourist, like he gives in like the scenic tour, and that's actually how he met Danielle through one of those tours. And obviously Ella immediately hit it off with her as well, just at that first meeting. And it's actually really heartbreaking. Like, he's driving in the car dealing with all this because he's got to go pick up his daughter and explain to her what happened. And then we hard cut to like, almost like very seamlessly transition to like, oh, like when they first met, and then like dropping her off at her place, and then transitioning to him like in tears, and his daughter in tears, and them holding each other like through all this. And it's like, oh, that was just a rough and very sad like transition in that regard. What also makes me believe that there definitely seems to be like some like intelligence type of thing going on is how he disposed of his phone. I feel like most people wouldn't dispose of their phone like that. That seemed like some spy level, like getting rid of the phone, making sure to pull out the SIM, like break the phone, take out the SIM card type of thing. Like that seems like some intelligence level type of thing. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, because at first I'm like, okay, was Danielle actually kind of a spy or something? Because like her and Steph were like having an affair, and it was so interesting because she was hitting it off with Segev, but then it's like, oh, he's like, I was waiting here till like 5. He's kind of like questioning whether, it's like for him, it's like, I've got to already like deal with my crumbling marriage and stress at work, and then they like, once again, they do their thing, and I'm like, so was she keeping the affair going the entire time? Like, was Segev meant to be like a kind of a front? Like, oh, I got this regular relationship while I'm secretly got this affair going on. I guess it feels like she almost only recently ended it for Asaf to like still being like, oh, my love, and still be hitting her up during texts and stuff like that. So that's what, I don't know. Because it definitely seems like it is more than just an affair. It seems like that is a part of it, but it does seem like the truth behind their profession seem like, especially Asaf, like it seems like there's something there, like there is some like Mossad level stuff, but I'm not sure. I mean, if it's not something government official, then maybe it is just something on the lower but higher like criminal side of things. Maybe it's not like a governmental thing, but maybe it is like a criminal side of thing, or like maybe itself is like connected to something super criminal related, hence why like the Remy situation played out the way it did, the way he seemed a little cagey and just so quick to like, even though his car was stolen, he just kind of like, either he just kind of accepted it, or his lawyer told him just to accept it, because he probably told his lawyer what was what, and it's like, right, you're better off just like saying you did it. I don't know. Maybe just he kind of got railroaded. I don't know. But then like also the way things get handled later on when that dude breaks into the house, because obviously he was probably looking for something. It seems like it was more so like he was probably like Danielle had something on her that he probably broke into the house to retrieve, but then he also tries to attack Segev. Sadly for him, Segev gets the upper hand and breaks his neck. I was wondering, is it going to be someone under the mask that we met? But no, it doesn't seem like it's someone familiar. He makes sure to get his daughter out of there, drop her off at the house. And I was like, you shouldn't have left the body unattended. I was like, is it going to be that thing of like, oh, the moment you come back, the body's already gone? So I'm like, that don't seem like some gang-related stuff. That definitely does seem like, once again, some espionage level stuff of like getting rid of the evidence, you know, because all of this dude's identity's revealed. It might reveal like who he's associated with, and that's like, what's it? Is this like a government cover-up or something? Like, was Danielle like an asset? Was she like in the sense of she worked with them? I mean, because her being here, like, I mean, well, could she be a? Because I'm like, no, I'm like, if we are going for like maybe there's almost like this Romeo and Juliet angle of like, oh, she is actually a CIA operative or something like that. Once again, like I said, maybe the company thing is kind of a pseudo front. Maybe they're like two different people from an agent. Like maybe like she was kind of ordered to like pump him for information. So once again, like, you know, maybe he's not Mossad. Maybe he's not like government intelligence. Maybe she actually is, and she was having this affair with him, trying to pump him for information. But this fake life she had kind of created for herself, which was kind of meant to be a cover. Because it's like, oh, like, I'm having this affair and I'm trying to end things because, like, I already got what I needed from you. I don't need any more. I don't want this to ruin this life that I built for myself, even though it's all kind of fake. It's kind of real to me type of thing. Or like I said, or whether they were both intelligence agents and, like, he just wasn't aware of her circumstances, that she was just kind of using this affair to pump him for information. I don't know. It definitely is obvious that she had a lot of secrets, a lot of stuff was weighing on her mind before she went back to New York. Because I think if she is, for example, like CIA or something, her going back to New York was meant to be like a front for like, oh, I'm not actually going to like this company thing, like dance company thing for an audition. I'm coming in to like be debriefed about everything that we've learned, and I don't know, like if it really runs that deep or not. So I mean, it's not like they were able to do quick work of like, oh man, we were able to clean up the whole crime scene. It's like, no, the crime scene stayed the way it is. I mean, I'm wondering whether or not it's just going to be, whether it's going to make Segev look crazy. I mean, I'm sure if they check, they find blood samples from like the fight and stuff like that. So there's no way the dude didn't like bleed or something. You know, there's no way there could be like some trace evidence. Not unless they're really good, but they didn't clean up the crime scene. But you know, who knows if it's just going to be a circumstance that makes Segev look crazy, because it's not like even his daughter saw the body, because he made sure to tell her to close her eyes, so she can't even be a witness to like what happened. He's the only one. So he called the police, he called Tally about it. So some interesting developments. And once again, it's just that thing of like, it is the first episode, so we still like, we don't even have enough to really fully piece stuff together. But obviously, like, I'm just throwing out like random theories, you know, not necessarily because I think like, oh, look, I'm 100% right. Just kind of what some things that were flowing through my head like as the episode was progressing, because it's still like a, how do we go from here to him in a prison 3 weeks from now? There's obviously a lot that's going to happen over the course of this season from now till then. Because it also begs the question, it makes you wonder, is that going to be closer to the end of the season? Is that 3 weeks going to be the middle of the season? I get the feeling that it's probably more likely going to be the middle of the season. If it ends up being later in the season, then rather than middle, but like later, like maybe like 3 or 4 episodes left type of thing, I think that'd be interesting if that ends up being the case. But we'll have to wait and see where all of this ends up going. I am watching these one at a time, so at the time of me recording this, I've only watched episode 1. I'm going to watch episode 2 and then review it, so on and so forth. And also, like I've been doing lately, I am going to be dropping all these reviews at the same time. If I get through this season quickly enough, I will try and put this up Sunday, but if not, then I'll try and put this up at some point during the week when I kind of have like a lighter review schedule, so it's not too much clogging up the subscription box, because I'll try and put these up maybe like 15-30 minutes within each other. So, but yeah, I'm very interested to see where the season, but just even the next episode, where the next episode takes us with all of this going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.